And we're live.
And we're live. A famous sentence. It's from Dara Cashman. Deck, we miss you in case you're watching this. He stole your sentence. Welcome to the Tricolors Reds, the Irish Manchester United podcast, the home of Irish Manchester United content. Your regular host, Khaled here, talking to you from Greystones, County Wicklow, all the way to the land of legends from Cork. How are we doing today?
I'm all good, man. Ready to go.
All right. And all the way down to the south, Dundalk. No light in
The
Dundalk.
North,
What's the
the
problem?
North. We
Swords,
need.
sows.
It's a good job we're not doing a geography podcast.
All right. Interesting. Interesting. We'll discuss today for just 30 minutes two things. I labeled it the Brighton disaster because not usually, honestly, it was a disaster for me to watch it. And then I named it the Munich comeback. It's nearly a comeback, but still, when you see the first minutes of the game, it was a disaster also, but somehow we managed to pick up. When you see the score, it doesn't reflect the game, but still, we'll discuss it with our famous pundits. And we got our first viewer. I hope that's Deck. Oh no, it dropped. That's not Deck then.
Boo. He didn't want
Boo.
to watch it anyway.
We need sponsors, so you need viewers, you know. All right, so starting with the Brighton game, and I was just chatting with the guys before, and I'll give you a few pickup lines to start with. I was looking at the stats between us and Brighton in the game. We had more possession at 62% or almost 63%. We had more shots on the target, 5 to us compared to 4 to them. They scored 3 goals out of 4 shots on target. We had more touches, 732 compared to 509, and we had more passes, like 548 compared to 362. We ended up losing the game 3-1. What a disaster it was in terms of performance, in terms of what. Dara, I'm starting with you. When you see these stats, what would you expect that's a normal result? Would you not expect that's a normal result? What happened to end up even with these stats, but still poor performance and we lost?
I suppose it's hard to tell really. With the first 20 minutes, like we were totally the dominant team, and we'll be probably touching on that point again when we come to the review of the Bayern game. But like I have the stats here in front of me, as you said, they are 62.9 possession over Brighton's 37.1. We had more shots on target, more shots as a whole, not by much, albeit. But we had more touches, we had more passes. So on overall, on a tactics point of view, we were the better team. Now, of course, statistics and tactics can only go so far with the team. But what is it with Manchester United recently about conceding first, whether it be home or away? It's just frustrating to watch, man. Like, you could see tactically what he was trying to do in the first 20 minutes, and he said it before the game that he wanted to try something different. Was Brighton I've said this before, was Brighton the smartest move to try something different? Because Roberto De Zerbi, for as much of an unknown as he was this time last year, because he only started the job with Brighton this time last year, and what a performance he's brought them with. Because while it was nice to see Graham Potter with the attractive football, because I remember going to see Brighton under Chris Hughton back 2017, 2018, where the possession, it was more low block, kind of very old school football based under Chris Hughton. I won't say very Sean Dyche-esque, but it was more of an old school pattern, whereas Potter brought that kind of new vein of life to Brighton, kind of like the way Vincent Kompany is currently doing now with Burnley. But at the same time, I suppose where it fell apart for United really was that De Zerbi picked up the tactics straight away, and he made the adjustments. Where we saw that last year though, with Ten Hag seeing the tactics that teams were putting out in front of him within 20-25 minutes, he was the one adjusting the formation, adjusting the tactics, and you saw the results we got last year. And it's hard to know, because at the end of the day he wanted to try something different, but at the same time, if he knew that he was after, if De Zerbi was after adjusting to counteract that, would he not counteract with something else once the goal had got 1-0 down, rather than sticking with the same tactics? I could see what he was trying to do, and it was a nice style of football all the same, but I don't think it was the smartest move to go against Brighton. Now, obviously,
Yeah.
I've made the point before about Highland's goal that should have been, but no, at the end of the day, that goal, like, as great of a striker finisher was, very. He's like, for a finisher, he's a raw finisher still because he's only 20 at the end of the day. But with the, how do I describe it? With the instinct, should I say? Hyland got the goal. Obviously, you have your debate there about whether it was outside or inside, but as someone made the point to me before, Matoma had the very same feeling of whether it was in or out back in the World Cup. But you can't be a, how do I describe it? You can't be going off ifs and buts all the time. You have to make the actual call and go head on with it. Like, tactics wise, we just fell apart in the second half. We started off strong. We got the goal back, but it was too little, too late because, like I said, tactically, De Zerbi was already ahead of the pace. Simple.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I would agree with many points you said, and here also I would pick up on a sentence you said when you try new things and everything. Okay, so we have to try new things. We have to take the risk, and sometimes it will work, sometimes it won't work, but it is the risk of the game. And I believe probably what did hurt more is playing Bruno on the right as a risk take. And Nigel, I'm here to you. You have the stats, but also what do you think about Bruno playing at that side? Was it holding us back? Was it not holding us back? In my opinion, it was holding us a little bit back. Bruno probably would have done better in the middle. But what would you think?
No, yeah, I think you definitely make a very valid point there. I do think it was poor decision to have him out there, and it was a little bit. It did sort of affect the balance of the team a little bit, but like what I like to point out again, I don't want to be sort of negative or anything like that, but it seemed to be just how quickly heads went down the other day. Like when you're looking at, I know we're an evolving team and there's new faces coming into the team, but when you're looking at senior leaders of your team, like particularly Marcus Rashford, and just the level, these boys should be the forebearers of the team. They're the one, when the chips are down, these are the boys that you're looking to actually, right, lads, what's going on here? And like you could even see it out there. I think in Germany last night was a little bit different. There was definitely a bit more hunger. And to be honest with you, I definitely think we were very, very unlucky to come away with a defeat last night. But I know we're going to chat about that shortly. But just there just seems to the confidence just seems to be on the floor at the minute. But actually, again, touching on that thing with Germany, what I was nice to see today was Ten Hag, Rasmus, Bruno, Richard Arnold. They were all out at the Munich Memorial, and I think those type of things that where the players go back to core values of the club, and like there's no doubt about it, something like Munich is like ingrained in our club, and we'll never forget those people that perished that night. But like for those types of moments for a player to maybe to realize, you could see what it meant to Erasmus to score last night.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
And again, like he's only in the door, and he came unfortunately with a bit of an injury, so maybe he's a little bit behind some, but he definitely doesn't play like that. And for me, that's what I wanted to see, is that character, because that's what I connect to Man United, some Man United players, all down through my life following them. And at the minute, like I said, the Rashfords, they're the ones that you should be looking at. And even Bruno, you notice that probably again is he seems to be constantly looking at the ref, never playing the game as it's taken. Do you know that sort of like just let the ref make decisions, concentrate on trying to turn this around, because even though we're only early doors in the season, like it's not unfixable by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
Like but like I said, today seeing those players recognizing that they had to go and pay their dues to the people have, and I hope now. I know that we're away this weekend, but please God, we can try and pick some sort of a positive result, because again, I feel we were very, very unlucky last night. That Bayern were definitely there for the taking, and when we were 3-2, and I was like, my God, we might actually sweep this. And then again, there was a poor ball from Bruno, very, very,
Didn't take
very
long.
It's the
lax.
minuscule margins, really, at the end of it all. Like.
But that's it. And I was chatting to my brother-in-law today, and he's another huge Man United fan, and he like. So not for a lot of my thoughts, something similar to what he has about just these lads. They need to realise the level of club that they are at, and that it's not an ordinary club. It's definitely not an ordinary club, and I do believe Ten Hag definitely can solve it. He is very, very unlucky again too. When you look up in the stands, you have Luke Shaw, you have Mason Mount, you have Amrabat. Like, you have straight away starting 11 players
Yeah.
there. That's
Guaranteed.
that's just no use to you. Like, again, Hannibal probably unlucky not to even get a little bit of an involvement last night. I think Garnacho needs to play more. I think it's even early doors. It is a pivotal thing for our season, but I think we need to just get that one win and just get that sort of break this losing streak. And I genuinely think we could turn it around.
And like, I'm just going to quickly take a point that you said there, Nigel, about Garnacho could be on more. As a whole, like, you go over obviously we could dissect the Bayern game a little bit more in a second, but last night and Brighton on Saturday or Sunday, Saturday, the problem I found there was how late the substitutions were. He only brought in Facundo and Garnacho on in the 80th minute against Brighton.
Game done.
Like the game was dead at that point. Like, fair enough, Hannibal had scored his goal, a fantastic goal, by the way, especially for your first Premier League and Manchester. Is it his first Manchester United goal as well, if I'm right to say?
Yeah, senior team, Premier League,
So it's like, for your first senior Manchester United goal, no better way to open your account, really, albeit in such a terrible scenario where you're already 3-0 down at that point. But like, the point is, he should have been making those substitutions in the 60th minute where the impact can still actually make a difference, say.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we always thought, like, in my opinion, until he's kind of grown more naturally into a defined position, whether he be left wing, right wing, even if you could kind of test the waters playing again, or in a Bruno scenario as a number 10 kind of thing. Garnacho will not be your starter, in my opinion, until you define his position. Because at the end of the day, he's obviously preferred on the left, but the way things are going now, he's not going to get a chance because everyone's going to pick Marcus Rashford over him. So you're going to have to try to see, would he fit on the right? Would he kind of slot? Not that you're ever going to take off Bruno if you play him more deep, and then whoever you sub on or sub off for Garnacho, you play him in that kind of Bruno role, in that kind of 10 role, unless you kind of test the waters to see, can he go anywhere other than the left wing? Because at the end of the day, we're in a situation without a full starting right wing that Bruno's having to go to the right wing. After that, what are you going to do?
Yeah. Well, what you're going to do, you're going to stand behind the team. As just Aaron wrote in the chat, there were some positive to take from last night. I'm confident looking at the run up to City at the end of October. We could go on a good run and hit some form. We need to get behind the team. And yes, we will always be behind the team, Aaron, and thank you for joining all the way. These are our lads from Kildare. And by the way, the Kildare lads had their first tickets from the supporters group for the Brighton game, if I'm not mistaken. Was the first trip for the members. So congratulations for them, and kudos to you, Aaron, and to the whole team working in the background. And with that, we close the Premier League topic with the Brighton game, and we move to the European night. And the link I was looking for is that you were speaking about Hannibal and Garnacho got the minutes. The surprise for me for the Bayern game, before the game, I was driving, and on the predictions, I predicted Hannibal will start, and I sent it to you guys, but he didn't. And then I see a push notification, this United youngster is starting. And I was driving, and I couldn't just stop and see the notification. I'm saying, yes, Hannibal is starting. Okay, I'm biased. I'm from Tunisia. But then Once I park it, it's Pellistri, and I was even happier. I said, okay, this is it. This is Pellistri's chance. This is the night where we all know and have seen some potential of Pellistri. This is it. But it didn't go well. We had a good start in the
Mm.
game. We missed our first goal, and 0-0 we could have scored easily. But then we screwed up big times in like what is it? 12 minutes that we
Mm.
got 2 goals in the space of 10 minutes. And then it went to a crazy game. And here also to give you guys few pickup lines or a few pickup thoughts, not lines.
Mm.
Shots on target this time we were less, 9 to Bayern, 4 for us. Block shots, so 6 shots blocks for Bayern compared to 0 for us. We had 41% possession. We had 3 corner kicks compared to 7. And the crosses, 15 to Bayern to 14 to us, 3 counterattacks. And what's important here as a stat is the goalkeeper saves, 1
Mm.
to Bayern compared to 5 to Onana. And starting from here, how did you feel with the first goal? Although he made 5 saves in the game and kept us, how did you see that goal go in, and how did you see the game? Dara, I'm back to you.
Last night, one of the most craziest 4-3s you're ever going to come across. Like like on an overall, that game was not a 4-3. That game, like, I hate to say it, but the way we just lost control, like at the end of the day, that Bayern game had the very same carbon copy 20-25 minute start of the Brighton game. You had the domination, you had the possession, you actually had Bayern on the ropes in the Allianz Arena, which I must say I had written down here. The atmosphere last night, like, I won't lie, I had the TV up because it's Champions
Yeah.
League. You're gonna have it up a little bit louder. The atmosphere in the Allianz Arena was absolutely rocking. I know 2 lads personally from Cork who went to that game last night simply because of the way the European away credits worked for the Bayern game. You could literally go down to 0 credits and get a ticket. These 2 boys got tickets. They were willing to pay the flights. Fair play to them. But my God, I watched it on their Instagram story last night when they threw up a couple of videos of the atmosphere around the arena. It was crazy, and you could hear it in the way that, I'm like, at the end of the day, I love the Old Trafford. Excuse me, my thoughts there. Right, the Old Trafford atmosphere, pre-game, post-game, during the game, fantastic. But my God, what I would have done last night to be in the Allianz Arena just for that atmosphere alone. But to get back to the actual game, like I said, carbon copy of the game against Brighton, and just that goal alone, I do feel Bayern were putting the pressure on us to get that first goal eventually. Would it have held off the inevitable if Onan actually made that save? Not as much. No,
Yeah.
you could have probably held that for the 5-10 minutes between the first and the second goal, because it was coming, unfortunately, with Bayern, because they, after the first 20 minutes, they found their feet because they were shaky at their own home, which is quite surprising considering how dominant they have been at home. And I read commentators were even saying a stat last night, something along the lines of how Bayern haven't lost a group stage game was it at home or in general since 2017 or something crazy
Yes,
like that.
15 games in a row, I think. So it's
Yeah,
like,
so like some my apologies.
I
Something like,
don't think it's at home. It's at Bayern didn't lose a group phase game in 16 games in a row.
yeah, you see, there you go. That's
Yeah,
the thing.
4
Like
years
home or
more.
away, like they've always been dominant anyway in the group stage. So what does that say? Like, I didn't go into last night expecting a result. I would have taken a draw if someone handed it to me straight away, and that's the truth of it. Because it's not that I wasn't confident that Man United weren't going to get a result. It was just more, it's Bayern Munich. It's the Allianz Arena. It's the toughest of the away games we have probably coming into the group stage. I would have just taken a draw and run, especially after how Galatasaray and Copenhagen finished off their game. So I would have taken that gladly. But like I was saying, like I was referring to, it was one of the weirdest 4-3s you ever come across. Like, once we went 2-0 down, you saw that Highland got the goal. It was, okay, we have a bit of a chance. Straight up back the other end of the field, 3-1. And I wondered, I was just there, like, I was watching it for the sake of watching, because I was there like, look, I'm not going to be one of those people who turn off the TV after 3-1. I'm not going to be one of those people. So I continued to watch it anyway. And I said to myself, okay, if we get something now, maybe, Sure enough, Casemiro slides the leg in 3-2. And I was there like, okay. I was there. I was watching the clock. I was there like 86 minutes. Okay, we have a chance here. And Matthias Tell, no, I wasn't even mad at that finish because the way that Bayern were peppering us with shots in the second half, fair play to Onana for picking himself up at halftime and just going straight out. And like in my opinion, he was probably the second best player in the second half because the overall player, in my opinion, across the entire game, Sergio Reguilon. What a player he! I gotta say, like I've seen people say if we sign him in a tournament, he's the only genuine challenger for Luke Shaw, and I'm not even joking. I would agree if he stays injury free, because obviously Reguilon had his injury history in the last couple of years. If he stays injury free, and if we decide to sign him in a tournament, I love Malacia and I love his tenacity when he's playing. I don't care if Reguilon's only brought in as an emergency left back for loan. I would gladly keep him just after 2 games loan if he stayed with that consistency.
Yeah,
he's been a fantastic player, and the fact that they're saying now Luke Shaw's out till about after November international, and so is Wan-Bissaka, provided touch wood, you have to make sure no distress, no injuries to Dallo or to Reguilon. I like the looks of that pairing straight away.
Yeah, and I would take Luke Shaw as a centre back if Reguilon is starting. Also,
guaranteed.
More opportunities.
Especially with the way that Varane can be hit and miss. You got Martinez slotting into that now. I suppose you kind of have to find the question then of who you put in right centre back, Shaw or Martinez, because at the end of the day it's not going to work otherwise. Because if Varane's there, he's slotting in right centre back, so you have that left centre back spot for Shaw or Martinez to even rotate it. If one's not having a great game, you bring one on, kind of thing. Like, so it could work that way.
Yeah, it can work that way, and that now when I look at the group phase, it can work that way in the way that we're still in, even though we lost the first game. Next game is Galatasaray at home, if I'm not mistaken, October 3rd. And Nigel, I'm here up to you because the other game is a draw. Where do you see our chances in the group for now? And then you can give me your feedback about the game. Can we still win the group or not? Or to have bold ambitions? And if not win the group, what are our chances to go and finish second to go to the next round in the Champions League?
No, I think maybe top in the group. Maybe last night not getting possibly a point sort of might rule that out, because Bayern are a good side, but they definitely won't be trouble in the later end of the competition. They're not the team that they once were, and again they probably played us at the best time. The way we're just not motoring at the minute, but I am. As Dara said, the way Galatasaray and Copenhagen finished up 2-2, I definitely think getting back to Old Trafford, again, as Dara's already referenced, a Champions League night in Old Trafford is like no other night, never mind any other stadium. But again, that's dependent on if we can just try and break this bit of a run that we're on before that. So again, there's Burnley and then there's Crystal Palace game, actually, which I'm going over to that. So I'm looking forward to that. But no, I definitely think we'll get out of the group. I think Copenhagen, and again, there's going to be probably the thing with the Highland brothers, because one of them lads played last night, so it'll be a nice connection there. But I think, like, you have no disrespect to Copenhagen, you have to fancy us home and away to beat Copenhagen, and down to Galatasaray, because again they have strengthened over the summer, and they've got a few out of the Premiership who will know about Manchester United. There'll be, and some very players that could probably play in any team across Europe, more or less.
Sure.
But no, I definitely think, like I said in last week's episode, I really would have liked us to have it start off with a home game, but it couldn't come any sort of tougher start. Champions League opener night is a bit of a strange one. It could be anything. I know, like we spoke about, say, Newcastle, and I probably was a little bit disrespectful to them, and then they go and they pull out a draw against AC Milan.
We might be our words on that one, actually.
Yeah, it's So no, but no, never mind them. Let them get up to whatever they're going to get up to. But for us, no, I definitely think, uh, again, if we can get the medical table emptied out and get back to a full squad, like again, it's a little bit unsure about what's going to happen with like Mount. There's not much chat about his return to the playing squad. Then
Yeah.
Sophie and Amrabat, I think, is only a minor enough little niggle. So again, I think you give Ten Hag, you get all you get your injuries sorted out. I think we definitely still will get
I think,
knockouts.
yeah, I think we'll be fine. Yeah, Dara, go ahead.
No, I was going to just make on Nigel's point about Mount and Amrabat there. It was actually reported earlier that Mount is not too far away, but it's a strange one because they're saying Amrabat's still training alone, but he should be fit to play against
Palace.
no, sorry, who we
Burnley.
played? Burnley, sorry,
Burnley.
this week, sorry,
Burnley.
yeah. So we're they're saying he should be fit enough to play against Burnley, but he's still training alone. It's a strange one, really, if you ask me. Like we might get more though in tomorrow's press conference from Ten Hag, but from what it looks like on the training photos anyway, that he's still training alone, but at the same time he could still play a part in the next game. But they're saying it might be another 2 weeks for Mount, but at the same time, you kind of, as I kind of referenced in a previous episode before, it's just like, where do you slot Amrabat? Do you kind of play him as that Casemiro role, and like do you dare take out Casemiro and play Amrabat in that position then, or do you have him play where Eriksen is at the moment, where the legs are actually needed? Because Casemiro has that great defensive cover as always, but I think that's where I think you have to kind of revert back to the 4-2-3-1 as I was previously mentioning before. You revert back to that formation. You have the 2 boys sitting deep. You have Bruno as his free role again. Like, as much as I like the idea of just bringing it to a standard 4-2-3 where you kind of have your standard 6-8-10 and you have them have their individual roles. At the same time, it just seems like, in terms of the tactic point of view, a 4-2-3-1 makes more sense where, let's say, Amrabat will play the workhorse. I'm not going to disrespect the man too early, but I'm going to say it. He will be basically playing the Fred role here, because Fred will bounce anywhere across that pitch for any man. If you ask him to do something, he would have done it. And that's why I was disappointed. And as I made a point backstage on this little studio thing here last week, I would have taken Fred over McTominay. I would have gladly sold McTominay as if we were to do that keep buy sell bit that we did last week. If we had done that in a different way, I would have actually, after writing down, I would have sold McTominay and kept Fred, because in terms of what Ten Hag actually wants out of the club, Fred will be a better fit for that role. And again, at the end of the day, Amrabat might be a better version of someone like Fred. He might be in that. At the end of the day, I don't know enough about Amrabat to actually make that point. But at the end of the day, if he plays any bit better than Fred with a lot more consistency, I am very happy with that kind of a signing.
Yeah. Well, let's see how Sofiane Amrabat will get along, and he has to prove himself in the Premier League now, and
of course,
also in the team. Honestly, I don't expect that he will start. I expect that he would need a bit of time. Like when Casemiro joined us, he wasn't starting every week, and then took time to kind of fit in the philosophy of Ten Hag. But Ten Hag has proved already that he's ruthless. He's all about choices for the team. And before we wrap up, in the last 2 minutes, there's a comment in the chat that says, we played 6 matches this season, losing 4 and winning 2 matches at home by a goal difference, and with great spirits. Ten Hag came out saying we deserve the draw, with all due respect to everyone's opinion. And I guess this is about yesterday's game when we deserved the draw.
Yeah.
I mean, it can be, but honestly, for me, one positive thing that I left out with yesterday is the fact that we scored 3 goals. Okay, we conceded 4, but I was just afraid that once the competition goes on and on, maybe that goal difference can be something in the future, and I don't know what happens. And there's a second comment saying that
the same person,
deceptive, and the match was a copy of the City 6-3. Please don't remind me. Match last season, with the difference that Bayern was playing against, what's that?
Al-Qaim.
Al-Qaim. And It was not the best version of it, and the biggest evidence is that he wanted to score, he scored, and every time we scored a goal, they scored a minute later. I know that the team that plays Bayern is weak team and full of absence, but I hope, and it seems like another comment waiting.
Yeah, but no, like I suppose I'll take on that one. But I suppose I would have kind of, I won't say to that extent, but I would have agreed that on an overall terms of, if Bayern were more clinical, they could have easily, not being funny, they could have just done an 8-2 like they did to Arsenal and Spurs once upon a time to us. They could have, if they were more ruthless, I suppose, in that sense. That's why I said it was one of the weirdest 4-3s to ever come across. Like, if you go through the history books now in a couple of years' time, you see, oh, that game was only 4-3. Nope. You actually have to watch the full 90 minutes to understand why it wasn't actually 4-3. But at the end of the day, you go back.
Go ahead.
You go back to the VAR decision about that penalty. As I made a perfectly valid point, what is Ericsson like? Ericsson wasn't the greatest player in that game last night, but at the same time, he could not have done anything wrong about that penalty. Because at the end of the day, I'm gonna put my arm out here. Sorry, where's the camera? Like, sorry.
Okay.
But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is, you see the way the arm is there. If the ball's coming in at you there, then what are you to actually do about the ball coming at you there when it's only 2 feet in front of you? Are you meant to chop your arm off, as I said? What are you actually meant to do about it, like?
Yeah. But I think too in Champions League, and I just think the way things are going, refs are terrified not to give those decisions now, because they could be off their roster as quick as they were on it. There's too much at stake, and once the ref gets called over to watch and monitor about, so whatever he's decided, But no, I can see what you're saying. But if the shoe was on the other foot, what would you say? Like, if I
was watching that, like I said, take your Man United hat off. That's not a penalty, because if he was, let's say, like, I know you can't see, but let's say if he was from where I am to my window now here, say, and the arm was still there, that would be deemed a natural position. But he's literally here to the camera, to me, and you can't move out of the way that quickly to put your arm down. Like, if your arm was still there and it was coming at you from a certain angle, fine. But it was right here in front of you. Like, it was ridiculous, really, in my opinion. Because even the boys on TNT were saying last night, the Premier League would not give that penalty.
Yeah,
and you go back to the point. I'm not too sure if any of you copped this last night. They had checked it, ruled it wasn't a penalty, and then they came back to it again. So I know it's just a thing, and I'm not trying to sound like a proper fan camera when I say this, but like, is this genuinely a thing against Manchester United? Because honestly, they had already checked it, but then they immediately checked it again. They had already made the decision, and then come back to say, okay, it actually is a penalty against Manchester United, because despite him being 2 feet in front of him, he still handballed it. Logic.
And with this logic, we are in the last few seconds in the episode. It was lovely to have you both. We missed our senior pundit. He
senior.
is
very senior.
Very senior. He's busy. He's just busy. I hope he's watching. I don't know.
He's in bed. It's too late.
No. He called me before. He's not in bed, I can tell you.
He's got a few responsibilities put through him, let's put it that way.
Yeah. So, it was great to catch up with everyone here. Thank you, Aaron, for tuning in, and thank you for I don't know how to pronounce it. It's IFLNDZ, their name.
I think it's iFins.
iFins, I don't know, but thank you for the lovely and consistent comments. He or she shared many comments with us. Burnley away, Company's team. Hopefully, Company does bring out the Manchester City from his Burnley side. They're not doing well, but I think we will have a very aggressive reaction, and the team
guaranteed
will try to do their best to win. talk to you next week. We will debrief about the Dara's gone and came back quickly.
Oh, I'm back again.
And we will talk again next week. It was lovely to chat to you. Thank you for the watching, people live, and for the
Kelly,
rest.
thanks, Dara.
Thanks very much, guys.
Thanks, Nigel. Thanks, Dara. Please hit that like button. You will help us subscribe or follow on Spotify or subscribe on YouTube. See you next week.
Thanks very much, guys. Cheers.
All the best, folks.
Cheers.